Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Richest Men in Town podcast. I'm Mike Freeman, and along with my good friend and co-host Tyler Gould, we're excited to welcome you to our little podcast project. Tyler and I are just a couple of middle-aged husbands and dads driven to live our best lives. We want to be better every day, so here we'll be sitting down with great people. Not famous people, but great people that we admire, to learn their secret to living the rich life. Probably not the rich life you're thinking of. Our guests come in humbled and surprised at the invitation and hopefully leave feeling proud and grateful, realizing just how good they really have it. So pull up a chair, stay a while, and raise a glass with us as we toast our guests to the richest men in town.
Mike Freeman, what does Chuck Norris, turtle races, and a greased pole, how do they make their appearance on the richest men in town? Mitch Lowther's out, right?
Mitch Lowther.
So
like I told you this. He's gonna be a party. He's gonna be a party.
Dude, this was the funniest thing I've ever been a part of, and it was amazing. Not only was it funny, and I want to say this, I want to say this for sure. I laughed so hard that I was crying on multiple occasions during this. But some of the lessons that Mitch teaches about faith, about family, about being able to face hard things and learn from those hard things was just really astounding tonight. I enjoyed every bit of it.
Yeah, he's an amazing storyteller, and I think like any amazing storyteller, right? He sometimes they use that humor to soften our hearts.
Yeah,
and then they hit you with the lesson.
Yeah,
right. And tonight that was definitely present. Like we were there. We were in Ridgeland, South Carolina. Right.
Yeah.
We're at the Gopher Hill Festival, and he's painting a picture, and it looks like something like you mentioned. It looks like something right out of Mark Twain.
Yeah.
But it's his growing up. It's his story. And like he paints this idea of, my family wasn't just the family in my house. My family was my community. Yeah. At any point, any house, any night, I could have dinner.
It's incredible. I really felt like, it made me want to be in that environment. Right. And,
yeah. But then in that context of just that Southern charm and warmth,
yeah,
hard things are happening.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He's given some things. We're all given some things. Right. But like he acknowledges that these hard things come from God that help him to become the man that God needs him to be. Yeah. And amazing conversations of just these grandfather and dad and mom, and like this legacy of faith that he feels, right? He feels this honor to carry on. It's palpable, man. It's powerful too. Mitch was amazing tonight.
He was amazing, man. I the way that he speaks about his family and his father and mother in particular, and his grandparents was just inspiring.
And he's self-deprecating, right? He's talking about his dad having this gift of he can walk into a room and he can just connect with people. Come on, Mitch.
No. We spent 2 hours with Mitch. I feel like I've known him my whole life, and
exactly.
And I'd tell him anything he wanted to hear from me. The guy was it was a ton of fun, and I really hope that our listeners, wherever you're at, when you're listening to Mitch, that you take some notes and see where you can connect with his life. Because honestly, Mike, I took a lot of notes tonight, and I came away feeling like, man, I really want to work on connecting with the people that I love most on a different level.
Well, and in the same 2 hour stretch, he teaches that lesson, and he also teaches the value of, man, I really want to reach out to the guy at the end, at the back of the chapel.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
That was such a good analogy of kind of that seating chart of a chapel, right?
Yeah. Right. I want to love those that are difficult to love. I want to bring in people that are different than me.
Yeah.
Right. So that we can get where we need to get. Oh man. So good.
So good. And look, if you're tuning into the podcast and you're thinking, man, I want to learn how to be the better version of myself. I want to learn how to love people more. I want to learn how the difficult things in our lives help propel us to be better. Then this is your jam. And I'll also say, if you're a fan of Chuck Norris, of the Karate Kid, and of turtle races, this is definitely your jam.
We're actually going to give away secrets of where they found like the cast members for Karate Kid.
Yeah, it's a tight-knit community, for crying out loud. So look, if you want to learn tonight and you want to have some laughs, tune in, listen closely to the things that Mitch teaches tonight, and enjoy your time with Mitch Lowther on the Richest Men in Town.
If you gave me a clipboard right now and said draw up a basketball inbounds play, I would not have a clue. But when I'm in the stands, I'm like,
yeah,
you're
like John Wooden. You're like, look, man.
Clearly they're not doing the,
Yeah. No, look, I'm the same. I'm that way with everything though. Like I'll be watching a football game and I'm like, come on, why aren't they throwing? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, what's Stafford doing?
Why aren't they calling me? Why aren't they calling me?
Yeah,
so I can fix the problem.
Exactly, man.
Seriously.
Although I was thinking the other day as I was watching the Bengals, the Rams game, and as the Rams won, and their coach comes running onto the field, he's 36, dude. Right, and I told Ricky, I'm like, you know what? This guy, it's the pinnacle of the PE teacher. It's the pinnacle, man. Like you literally, that's what you went all in on coaching a game and being a PE teacher, and somehow you reached the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And you trade that clipboard for those fancy, those fancy laminated cards.
Yeah. Yeah.
The clipboard's gone.
Now it's all in permanent ink,
And now you're not even rocking bike shorts.
No, you're
not like bike shorts, the shorts you ride bikes on, but like Bike the brand. You remember those? Like,
oh yeah, with the high waist, the tall waist. Yeah. In fact, I married into a family of PE teachers, right? So one year for Christmas, generational, dude. One year for Christmas, I got one brother a pair of those bike shorts. And
did it have belt loops? Did it have belt loops?
Yeah, dude. This is the real deal. I found him at like a thrift store, dude. And then the other brother got a whistle. So I'm like, look, I take care of the people that I love. You go out there with those shorts and you're gonna make a name for
I'm
yourself.
telling you, there's very few things that stop everything like a whistle.
Yeah.
You blow that whistle, stuff happens.
Stuff does happen. It's very strange.
And it's like a power trip because you blow that whistle, everyone turns and is like immediately waiting for you.
Yeah. What do you have to say to us now? Yeah, like, I got nothing. I just a false alarm.
There were a couple moments. There were a couple of moments in last night's game where one of those refs was like, "You want to get away," like those Southwest commercials.
Mm-hmm.
Like he accidentally blew a whistle mid free throw on a kid.
Ooh,
the kid misses awkward. It, and everyone in the whole building turns to the ref. He's like, "My bad, second shot," and they're like, "What? Second shot?"
Have you ever reffed a game?
Oh yeah, church ball. Church ball.
Church ball. Yeah, it doesn't matter what
so
level.
Hard.
It doesn't matter what level, dude. So I got to tell you, I was the ref in a hockey game years ago. Okay, and I was doing the center ref thing, and the whole game, and it was like I was probably like in high school, and these are like some college kids and adults that are playing. And the whole game, they're just riding me on every call I make. They're just arguing with me. They're giving me crap. And I am like, I'm like fed up, but whatever, it is what it is. So end of the second period, in my mind, it was the end of the game. So I like take off. I'm stripping out of this thing and and they're looking at me like, oh man, we've crossed a line. This guy is leaving the arena. So needless to say, someone had to remind me that another period I had to redress and go back out there in shame. So.
Way to show you were present, right?
Yeah.
You just had that game situation down.
Yeah, man. I was
situational awareness. Score that guy super high.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a job, right? That's a job that just I wouldn't wish that on my enemy.
Yeah, there's no fun to be had.
No. And why does someone get it? Why does someone do that job? You know, like what do they get out of it?
Yeah. I don't power. You'll whistle. You get a whistle, dude.
It's a whistle.
You know, I coached soccer for a lot of years and I never used a whistle because I felt like it was sort of demeaning. Like I'm blasting it at these kids and they're, you know, I'm making them like jump to all the. So I was just like, we're just gonna have conversations here. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this a little differently. So
conversation. I think it's really just if you rock it with confidence.
Yeah,
it's being a ref. 99% confidence. You don't even need to know stuff.
Oh, 100%.
Got to step up there, blow that whistle with a certainty, and just the second, don't hesitate.
Yeah.
Step in, but boom. This is how I see it.
Just point in a direction.
This is how I see it.
You know? Yeah. You blow it and you point and you just don't make eye contact with anybody. It's like, come on, just get this thing going. Hey, so interestingly, in the game tonight, in the first half, my daughter's team was losing 4-0. Okay. The coach on the other team got a yellow card. So he was obviously chirping with the ref. Now they're up 4-0. The ref walks over, gives him a yellow card.
I hate him. I don't even like this guy. I hate him.
And then he continues and he got a red card, got thrown out of the game. I'm like, why are you getting a red card when you're up 4-0?
Maybe he's doing that Hoosiers thing with the assistant coach, right? They got state playoffs coming up, maybe, and it's like, hey, I gotta get.
Town drunk was on his bench, and he's like, dude, we got to get this guy straight.
We got to get him. We got to give him some experience where he's feeling valuable.
Yeah, he looked at the ref. He said, look, I'm going to call you a name, and I want you to throw me out of here. All right.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Hey, I need some advice here. I'm rethinking some things here, Tyler Gould.
Okay, let's hear it, man. I got nothing.
Fashion over 40. Are you ready for this?
Say that again. Fashion
over 40.
Okay, yeah.
I know you got some thoughts on this.
Yeah.
So did a little shopping. And by shopping, I mean Costco. Right?
Oh, okay, wait. All right. We're already going down a path, but go ahead. Keep going.
And I did one of those. Hey, Kelly, look at these. It's $14.99. And it went something like, hey, there's like in 3 different colors. Sweep. Get one of every color, right? And I'm doing this thing. And I'm starting to think I'm letting myself go, right?
Yeah.
Like that move was like,
yeah.
I might need to reconsider. And so I said, Kelly, I think I need to consider fashion a little bit here. I feel like I'm letting myself go. And she's like, well, do you have a Pinterest board?
Interesting. No. Okay.
No, I don't have any kind of Pinterest board. I don't even know Pinterest is still in business.
Didn't either.
Is Pinterest a business? Is it a verb? I don't know.
Yeah.
So guess what I do?
You got one.
I go to Google and I type in fashion over 40. And I find some Pinterest boards. And they're telling me some things that I'm struggling with.
Oh, all right.
For a man over 40, is it appropriate to turn your hat backwards?
100%. Now, look, it depends on where you're at. But look, I mean, to me, a hat is utilitarian, right?
Okay.
You're wearing it for a reason. You're playing around to golf. You got your hat on forward. You flub 4 shots. It's going backward. You know what I mean? Like that's where it's at. You're coaching a game. You got the hat on. You're watching the game. Your team just gives up 4 goals. It's backward. You're like, it's a signal.
Is it backwards even if it's not a fitted hat? Is it backwards when it's a snapback?
See, we're getting into some interesting territory.
Do you factor in any of these things, or is it just like, no, the hat is a reflection of the mood? It's hat backwards mood. I'm good.
I'm more of a hat backward fitted hat guy than I am a hat backward snapback guy.
Okay, I'm 100% with you. How about flat bill? Because I think I caught the flat bill down there at your place.
Yeah, I go subtle bend.
Subtle bend. I think a couple of years ago it was flat. Now it's a subtle bend.
Yeah,
it's telling me it's a subtle bend.
Yeah, I was flat for a while, but I'm subtle bend now. But I also have some trucker hats that are straight up cootered. Like, man, I like it. You got to go that route every once in a while too.
Okay. We've already got into the sweatpants. I don't think we need to hash that out anymore. We have a clear understanding of the do's and don'ts around sweatpants.
You know where I stand on sweatpants.
Yes.
But let me tell you this before you jump into this. I just had this conversation today, as a matter of fact, with my wife, because I was at this game, and this couple walks in, and there was definitely a disproportionate amount of effort put in by each person, right? The woman comes walking in, she is to the nines. She's looking good, right? Dude has a baggy high school sweatshirt with his daughter's team on it. He's got like, Under Armour kind of warm up kind of pants that have the zips at the bottom. Is
he our age?
He's probably our age. Unzipped at the bottom with some ratty gym shoes on. So get this, right? So they come in kind of together. She sits up in the stands, and he's two rows in front of her. Now, here's the problem that I have. Like, she's clearly sending a signal to the husband that, look, I'm going to put some effort.
I'm trying here.
Yeah. I need you to put some effort. There's some signals that we're sending each other that one is not picking up on, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I clearly saw it. I told Ricky, I'm like, I don't know, man. This isn't good what I'm watching here. One's putting in a ton of effort.
Read the room here.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Maybe he's dangerous, right? Maybe he looks in the mirror and he's like, I got to tone this down for the sake of other people around me. If I dress to the nines, people are going to be harassing me because I'm so dang handsome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that I can relate to that. I can't relate.
I can't either. But I will say that when you got to put some effort in, right? Like, I know my wife's better looking than me, right? I know that she's got way more going for her than I do. So I know that I've got to put a little work into what I got going on. And granted, it's very little work. But mine's
more like, I got to put some freaking optical illusions at play here. I need some smoke and mirrors. I need those thinning dark colors, right? Give me some layers,
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, look, but to go back to your original, dive into this topic, I think that Costco is not the answer. Costco is the answer for very many things.
Okay, well, you're not gonna like my plan B either, because I scored some amazing finds at Old Navy.
Okay, well, hey, I'm sure there's some stuff at Old Navy even, But the thing is, I do believe that whether it's Old Navy or even Costco, I guess, if you find the thing that works for you and you're looking good in it,
and it's paying dividends for the people around me, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Then you got to stick with that thing, right? So
I think you got to stick with it. But just so you know, I need to give you props, because so much of what I read about fashion over 40, I think it's right up your alley.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to Google this.
As I'm reading this, I'm like, this is Tyler Gould. Like, Tyler Gould, you are a plain t-shirt guy.
I am a plain t-shirt guy. Yeah.
You rock plain tees.
I do. Mostly. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any graphic tees?
I have a handful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The plain tee is kind of a go-to for a guy over 40.
I like the plain tee. And
do you do sneakers, casual attire at work?
No, I'm a business casual at work. Yeah. So
does business casual, do you do some jeans?
No jeans.
I'm Daniel Sellers, you hear that?
Yeah. I'm a slacks, button down shirt, always rock the long sleeve shirt, never the short sleeve shirt. That's how it rolls.
Okay. Are you a roll up your sleeves?
I every once in a while I will do a mild roll. Yes.
No tie.
Never a tie. No.
Okay. See, I'm like a tie or sport coat. Sport coat, lose the tie.
I like both. I like.
But Fridays I go jeans.
Okay. Well, see, you're my works. I got a little different deal going on, but I like that. I would say, someone told me one time that if you rock the short sleeve shirt, you're doing that old McDonald's manager kind of deal. So so that's been deleted from the. I don't think I've worn one since.
You hear that missionary. As soon as you hear that, done.
Yeah. In fact, I was talking to my son who's serving on a mission, and we were FaceTiming, and he was rocking a short sleeve shirt. And I said, "Did you get a job as a manager at McDonald's? I mean, what's going on over there? Are this allowed now? I don't know."
I think I need to toss out some short sleeve shirts. I got a couple. I got to toss those. All right. So, and I'm coming in 227. I have a clear understanding, along with sweatpants, I have no business wearing skinny jeans. So I just want to put that out there.
Like I said, you just got to find what works, and you got to rock that thing, Yeah.
And then just really look at closely what evidence you're using to consider what works. Right.
Yeah, no, that's very true. So
you need some outside. Like, hey, is this working?
Yeah. And the thing is, I mean, you're in a position right now where you have a wife who is good looking. She's together. You've certainly married
super
up.
Good looking right now. She just got it. She just got her summer, because it's like 80 freaking degrees in February.
I know. Yeah, it's crazy hot.
You guys are like on a heat advisory for the Super Bowl. It's ridiculous. But
yeah,
so crazy. She just went and got her summer.
Yeah,
well, summer treatment.
So you've got a good sounding board there. Plus, you have one of the most honest sounding boards a person can ask for, which is a teenage child in your home that will build you up barely, but quickly tear you down.
Yeah, and chances are, if me at 46, if I walk out rocking something that he likes, I shouldn't be wearing it. That's like if he's like, "Hey, can I rock that?" That is evidence that he's being trendy.
Yeah,
you're wearing it, and you shouldn't be.
Well, it's interesting. Is for Halloween, my daughter, who's a senior in high school, was going to go as Adam Sandler, dressed in his. You've seen those pictures of Adam Sandler playing basketball, looking like I don't know what's going on. So she came to me with her phone with a picture of Adam Sandler and said, "Dad, do you have some of these clothes that I could wear?" And I was like, you live with me. Do you ever see me wandering around in this? She's like, "Well, I just figured that you're a dad. You probably have this somewhere."
Yeah, Abe wants a pair of those white dad shoes, like the New Balance, not cool New Balance, not like Kawhi Leonard New Balance, but like, a guy right now. You're picturing a guy, who rocks that New Balance white look with blue jeans.
Bill Gates. I mean, I think those things are available at Costco.
He wants them. He wants them, right? But that goes to if I'm rocking it and he likes it. He's trying to set a trend. I got no business wearing it.
Well, there's an interesting thing that happens with a teenager, right? You can wear those kind of things and be ironic, right? You're trying to be ironic. Yeah. Look at me. I'm this young, hip guy, and I have these dorky shoes on. I still pull them off, right? You see Abe walking down the street with those, and you're like, that kid's doing it. If I see you walking down the street on those, I'm like, dang. Right? You know what I mean?
Intervention. The guy needs an intervention.
That's right.
All right. Fashion over 40. Hey, tonight, can I get into my guest here a little bit?
Please. I'm excited about it, man.
All right. So I got Mitchell Lowther. Mitchell Lowther is a friend of mine here in Reading. He is, he's an amazing guy. I can tell you there's been some moments, my Reading area here has gone through some hard times. And, recently, a couple of years ago, we had a wildfire, destroy some property, destroy some homes. And as a community, we were hurting. And I remember the first Sunday I went to church, I heard Mitch give a talk. and it was just soothing, right? He's a funny guy. He's a faithful guy. He's a rich guy. And I admire the life that he's living. Just so you know, we'll get into this a little bit, but his wife is one of the reasons I'm living the life I am living, right? She was there in a moment, asked me if I wanted to go to church one day when I was really not a church going guy, right? And that question zinged me a little bit when I said, no, I don't do that. And the second that I said that, I was like, no, that's something you got to do. And I'll forever be grateful for his wife in that moment. And so near and dear, the family's near and dear to me. And I cannot wait for you to get to know Mitch Lowther.
I'm excited, man. That's quite the intro. I'm looking forward to getting to know him.
Yeah, good friend, man. Good friend. So we ready to do this?
Let's open the door ever so slowly. Let Mitch join us. Is it Mitch or Mitchell?
It is Mitch.
Okay.
It is Mitch Lowther, and Mitch is from the South.
Okay.
Right. So you're going to hear folks that are going to be listening and tuning in to the richest men in town are going to, we're probably both going to pick up Mitch's drawl here.
I like the idea of a drawl.
Mitch Lowther, you with us?
Yes, sir. I'll do my best to share it with you.
Right out of the gate, Mitch, you're coming in strong with that drawl.
Just smooth like butter. You know what I mean?
Man.
Yeah, I've never really been accused of being normal or educated, but we'll see how this goes.
Well, you're in good company then, my friend.
Oh my goodness gracious!
All right, there we go. Mitch, now we got an exchange.
Yeah, I like it, man.
Mitch Lowther, welcome to the richest men in town, man. How are things?
Great, going fine.
So we can get into this, but you are taking one for the team, right?
You know, isn't that my role in life?
Hey, you know what? There's something to be said for the guy that can pinch hit in any situation. You know what I mean?
I don't know about that, but I hear what you're saying. I figured we could all use a good laugh, if nothing else.
No, Mitch, we talk about living this rich life, and we actually in our pre-show calls, we tell people, hey, this thing is a roll out of bed thing, right? We're just talking about life. We're talking about those things that are rich in your life, and we are looking forward to getting to know you a little bit. Before you joined on the call, we had some conversations, but I just wanted to make sure that you know how much you mean to me, and I want to pour into you a little bit, brother. Like, I admire you, right? When I go to the Mitch Lowther file, I find comfort, I find humor, I find faith, I find a man who's a family man, right? I find a true friend. Like, if the chips are down, who can I call? I can call Mitch. And Mitch, I know people that call you, right? I know people that call you dear friend.
What do they call me, Mike?
We can't say that on air, you know?
Just
can't say what they call you.
Just give me a name. I'll take care of it.
I can't say what they call you, but no, I know people that think the world of you as well. And so there's not anyone that you and I know that are going to be shocked to hear that Mitch Lowther's a guest on the richest men in town.
Oh, please.
All right.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So let's get into some really important matters of business. Are you ready?
Sure, man. Bring it on.
Mitch, we were talking before you got on about all kinds of things. I don't know if you've ever spent any time reffing. We got into some life of a ref.
Very little.
Okay.
But I had some uncles who were refs in Little League and college ball, and it was fun.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
So you never blew a whistle?
No, thank heavens. Those guys, look, I've got enough targets on my back. I didn't have to take that one for the team too, so I let somebody else handle that one.
Yeah. We feel the same. We feel the same. We got into, I'm on a little quest to maybe overhaul some fashion. So we got into fashion over 40. That is not where these 2 hours are going to go, Mitch. That's where Tyler and I were going.
Yeah. We'll spend a good hour there, but not two. That's for sure.
That's all right.
The story started with me buying clothes at Costco. Mitch, how do you feel about buying clothes at Costco?
You just keep walking. Just keep walking.
Mitch is dialed in, man. I'm telling you.
You don't want to have to do that, man. Just keep walking, Mike. Tell yourself next year. We'll do that next year.
Okay. How about short sleeve dress shirts? Where are you at with that?
Let's see. Coles is pretty nice.
Polos, yeah. Short sleeve.
Polos for sure.
Yeah. You can go to Kohl's. I like those.
What about short sleeve button up shirts? You feeling that?
Yeah.
That works.
Let's go short sleeve button up shirt with a tie. What imagery does that bring to your mind? Anything in particular?
Can the shirt be something other than white? That's what I want to know.
Okay. All right. I know. I think so. Look, I'm giving a pass on a short sleeve colored shirt, but I'm saying this, Mitch, if you're rocking the short sleeve with the tie and it's white, kind of rocking the McDonald's manager look, right?
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. All right.
Just so you know, I did a couple tours at McDonald's and I dreamed about wearing that button.
I was just saying there's anything wrong with that.
No,
right?
I dreamed of a day someone would extend that promotion to me. But I had some problems getting to work on time and got fired twice. So,
Yeah. Well, it was a good run while it lasted.
It was good. It was good. Hey, Mitch, hat backwards over 40. What's your take on that?
I just need a hat to cover up my receding hairline. I wouldn't wear it backwards because it would show it. You could look right through the little hole and it'd be like, yep, he's trying too hard to look cool. But it would look good on two of you, but just not me.
Actually, we agree that if you have a hat and you're wearing it backwards, it should be fitted and you shouldn't be doing that hole. With the
snapback. The hair's kind of going out the front. It's a whole thing. That's a whole thing.
Dude, I saw this guy walking down the street one time. I was taking a walk and he was doing that exact thing that looked like he had a rat tail stuck out the front. And I'm like, oh, he's never going to get married. His life's over.
No, we don't have to argue. I mean, rat tails aren't happening, right?
I hope not.
Okay.
Well, I'm just not going to turn around for this whole episode then.
Because the mullet is back, right? The mullet's back. But if you rocked it, I think the rule is if you rocked it once, you don't rock it again.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the general rule.
No.
I think, going back to our conversation earlier, Mitch, we were talking about inequality of effort when it comes to a husband and wife, right? I think that if your wife's putting in the effort, and I'm not even go the other way here, but if your wife's putting the effort and she's looking good, then you've got to step your game up, right? You can't be.
Oh yeah, you have to reciprocate. That's what a Southern gentleman would do. You don't. When you walk in the room, you got to be at least the smartest man in there or the best looking. And if you can't pull either of those off, then you better well be funny at least or have a good story, because otherwise, what's she doing there with you? You know what I mean?
What's she doing there with you?
You know what? It's funny. I don't think I have any of those qualities. And there's been a lot of people that have asked that question. What is that woman doing in there with him?
Hey, I've been asked that for 24 years, man.
One of these things is not like the other.
Yeah. They said that about Brooke and Erica when they first moved back home. When I met Brooke and we were been dating about a month. We were late going to church, and so we all ran in. One thing you don't do in the South is show up for church late, because what that means is you have to find an empty seat and just take it, and you're sitting where somebody else would normally sit. Erica runs in because, being the forward person that she is, being a California woman, she's more aggressive than we are. In the South, they call it liberated women. So she bulldozes her way. She's going to be the first in, and she sits down. Of course, I sit next to her, and Brooke sits on my right. About that time, you can hear everybody just start whispering. What in the world is he thinking? He can't make up his mind. He's got two women, one on the left and one on the right. And the talks just kept going from there. And I'm like, please.
And they're twins.
They're twins. They're totally twins. And here's the funny thing. They're like, well, which one's he dating? He's dating the nice one. Well, which one is that? Well, we don't know. We'll wait for him to tell us.
So Mitch, where's home? Where'd you grow up?
Oh, South Carolina, a little town called Ridgeland. It's a few miles outside of Savannah, Georgia.
Okay.
All right. So
Yeah.
how did you end up in Redding, California? Give me the story there.
Well, my first cousin who lived a few doors down, he was our elders quorum president, and he married Heather, which is Brooke's sister. They met at BYU. They moved back home, and I've known them for many years. And then while I was away on a mission, Brooke came to visit me. So while I'm over in Spain, I get a picture in the mail that these people were over at my house for Christmas. And I'm like, well, who are these people? Who's that cute girl? She was at my house for Christmas and I'd never met her before. So when I come home, obviously she's not here. She's in Redding. And I was talking to Heather and I said, well, when is she coming back? She says, oh, she'll be back in 6 to 9 months to visit. You can see her. And when she came back, she moved because she just finished at Chico State and wanted a little bit of a break. And she moved down, I think, the 1st of January. By the 3rd of January, I'd had my first date. End of March, we were engaged. May 30th, we got married. And for you to understand how amazing that was, I came from a very small town of 2,500 people. You're either related to everyone or you're related to everyone. And so you don't date.
I was going to say the marriage possibilities are limited.
That's right. You have to be outgoing. You have to get outside the local community and really be aggressive in your look for a spouse. But not only that, if you're looking for someone to marry that's a member of the church or shares your beliefs, that makes it even more difficult because you really have to. You just have to stand for what you believe in and not accept a substitute. But, I knew that the Lord would provide if I did everything that I could. And he sure did.
Wow, man. I love that. Now, I got to ask you, though, can you describe growing up? What was the town's name again? I'm sorry.
Ridgeland.
Yep. Can you just describe growing up in Ridgeland and
sure, and
kind of talk about your mom and dad and if you have siblings, give us a picture.
So I'm the oldest of 5 boys. And my dad was I think he was a 6th generation member. My mom was a convert. They had met at the single adult branch in Columbia, South Carolina in college. And they had a temple marriage. And so we were raised in the church. And my dad was in the stake presidency and a bishop. My grandpa was a branch president for 21 years. He was also a district president. He was a mission president, and he was in the stake presidency. I came from people who really knew how to serve. But the town that I came from was settled by 4 families, and it was all Baptist. When the missionaries came through about 150 years ago, they taught this one family. They knocked on a door. It was I think it was my great-great-grandfather, and he was the pastor for one of these congregations. Not only did he convert, but he took half of the congregation with him. And that formed the first ward.
Wow.
And that caused a big divide in the community for a season until they got to know that we were true Christians. But the community I grew up in was an agricultural town, and it was just family. There were no locked doors. If you wanted to go see your Uncle CE across the road, you walk over there and you just open the door and say, "Phew, I'm coming in. Everybody got some clothes on. Everybody decent." and next thing you know,
hold on, what was that call? What was that call?
You. Hey, anybody up in here? Don't let the dogs bite me. Y'all got the dogs put away. That's how you do it. You just walk down the street and you open the door and you say hello to people and they invite you in. The beauty of living in a town like that is that everyone lived in multi-generational homes. You had your great-grandparents with you until they died. Everyone learned compassion. They learned how to suffer with those who suffered. They learned how to share life's joys, and they learned how to gain strength from other people. I was an electrician's apprentice for 15 years. My dad was a land developer and a contractor, and he also owned a seafood marina. And so when I wasn't working in one of those businesses with my family members, I was helping drive seafood truck up to Boston Fish Market or down to Key West. We were involved in a lot of things because everyone was family. Everyone had something going on, whether it was good, bad, or ugly. And so what that did for you is every night you had family time. You were either in your living room or someone else's, sharing a special moment with them. And that brought a richness to life that is absolutely irreplaceable. Growing up in the South, people can be classified as having 5 characteristics. They're lovable. They truly do love people. I've never met a Southerner who hated anyone. They're creative. Watch out for a Southerner because he's thinking outside the box more than you can imagine. He's going to surprise you. That's the third thing. If you think that you can accept what you see at face value, you're mistaken. There's nothing they like more than to pretend to be dumb, uneducated, or totally nuts, only to come back later on and just absolutely pull one over on you and just laugh for years over it, have that story to tell around a campfire. But, they growing up there taught me how to be loyal. That's what it means to me to be a Southerner. And the fourth thing, which goes back to my dating days, is everybody teases the Southerners about their thinly veiled insults. The Southern women train on how to cut you down, but lift you up very quickly at the end with a nice compliment, like bless her heart. She's doing the best she can with what God gave her. But she does have a lot on her plate. We'll pray for her, which means she doesn't stand a chance. She's hosed. So that's the extent of the fierceness of the Southern personality. So when Brooke and Erica came down and showed us how it was really done, that really opened some eyes, kind of gave us some next level.
So in Ridgeland, I mean, is family still in Ridgeland now?
Yeah, I've still got some family there. Some of them moved out to Logan, Utah. One's in Texas, some's up in Virginia, but I've got a brother still there and a bunch of uncles and aunts. We have some land that we owned. My grandpa, after the war, bought 310 acres from a rice plantation. It was called Good Hope Plantation. Lots of Indian mounds where you can find arrowheads, bones, pottery, things like that. So we grew up in swamps or off in the woods a little bit outside of town, had some privacy, but it was nice there. It was a good farming community. You learned how to work and you learned how to really look after one another. But what the town is actually known for is something completely different. Every October, General Conference weekend, have something called Gopher Hill Festival.
I'm in. What do you got?
Okay. So they make betting legal on that day in the town. You can bet money. And what you do is you go to this festival where all these churches and all these organizations get together and do a big bake sale so that you can raise money, but you can try everyone's authentic Southern recipes. And they put together a recipe book that you can buy for it. Possum Stew is one of them, for example. Anyway, so what you do is you show up and you're allowed for the week before to go to this one spot in our town. This town is on the ridge. That's why it's called Ridgeland. It's a sandy hill at sea level. And there's a gopher tortoise that is native only to that location. If you go and nab yourself a tortoise, you can take it home and train it for a week to run in a circle. And what they do for the festival highlight,
I feel like I'm getting put on so bad right now.
You paint your number on your turtle and you put him there in the circle and you race him. And if he stays in the circle all the way around and beats the others, you win.
I feel like I just was recited a Mark Twain short story, and I'm going to go to Ridgeland touting my turtle catching skills and be laughed out of town.
Dude, this gets better. Halfway through, they take a break and they let the local karate studio come on and do some skits for us. And then we pick back up.
Hold on, I just gotta highlight something here. Tyler, do you need skills to catch a tortoise?
You need a shovel. And persistence. If you don't have that Southern persistence, you're just not going to.
Oh, the karate people, they have a corner on this market. Like they are in the agenda.
They are in the. That's the highlight of the show, man. I mean, people are going there to drink and enjoy that good turtle race, but the karate's. When Karate Kid came out, that was our theme. That was our theme movie. That was our anthem. We're like, everybody's like, go Daniel, And so when you go to this festival. It was awesome.
I gotta tell you, I've been to
I feel like I'm playing two truths and a lie.
Yeah, I've been to a
This
lot
is
of
totally
festivals in my life. But I am I will go to a turtle racing karate festival any day of the week, man.
It's true. It's all true. I swear.
Well, Mike, I'm hoping that you're taking notes because this has to be in the show notes.
Let me tell you. Here's the thing about the possum stew is like, how do you know if a possum's dead?
Oh, I had that question myself. How do you know that you fully dispatched an animal? Well, you use a shovel. When we were doing home teaching one night, we went over across the street to check on my buddy's uncle. He's about 90 years old. And he was an old timer. He looked like he just stepped off of one of these Westerns. He was really one of these old farmers who did things the old ways. And his diet was whatever it was in the 1930s. He loved possum stew. So Heather's husband, Ashley, and I went over and he says, "Hey, Uncle Charlie, we're here to check up on you, not just as an elders quorum visit, but I'm your nephew, just been worried about you, making sure you had something to eat." He says, "Oh, I'm doing fine." He comes out the house with a bloody stump of a hand bandaged up. I said, "Uncle Charlie, what happened?" He says, "Went to feed the dogs tonight and I opened up the 55-gallon trash can and took the scoop and went in there and something bit me. I looked at it. It was a possum. So I told Mama I was going to get the shovel and kill it. And I killed it, cooked it up, and we had it for dinner." I'm like, okay, so apparently to kill a possum, you have to have a shovel.
Is possum stew greasy, Mitch?
Yeah, very greasy.
Gamey.
Just
Gamey.
Gamey doesn't touch it, dude. That dark meat on duck? It's got that slime, deep, rich flavor to it that you think somebody in here likes this, but it's not me. It's worse than that.
Well, this is miraculous. I really want to go to Ridgeland.
I think
it's absolutely gorgeous. It really
I
is
have no
beautiful.
doubt. Yeah.
I think Ridgeland, I think the Chamber of Commerce is our official sponsor tonight.
Oh man, we've just bumped up tourist numbers for Ridgeland like crazy through this.
Yeah, and you said that's October, so like put that
It's
on
in
our
October,
bucket list.
man. Heck yeah.
man.
And you want your guests to go and buy the Gopher Hill Festival cookbook, of which I have a copy. I'll be happy to send you some samples you can put on your website. But it's just absolutely hilarious. You read this and it looks like a cookbook that somebody put together on a typewriter, which they did. And it's so simple, but absolutely enjoyable to read. You don't have to make anything. Just look through it for family hour. I mean, you're going to crack up. It really is just amazing. Wow, people eat that. Oh, that's actually pretty good. I've had that, although you wouldn't know that reading it. It's amazing.
So
you can get authentic recipes like that. So
I'm just going to
amazing.
go into a stereotypical South Carolina file. Are you ready?
you'll go for it.
Fireflies,
Yep.
alligators.
Oh, absolutely.
You got a good alligator story?
Oh, I do. My uncle, love him. He just passed away a couple days ago. He and his wife passed away 3 days before him. It was my dad's brother and sister. He taught me how to do electrical work. I worked with him for many years, and he says, "Mitchell, you see that big gator crossing the road right there?" I said, "Yeah." This was a big 12-footer, and it's crossing the road. There's the mainland, and then you have what's called Lemon Island. It's a 1-mile island off a few hundred yards off the mainland, and then there's the rest of South Carolina. It's kind of like a bay, and you cut across this island to go do all of your commercial work, and it's hard to reach marsh places. But the gators cross that road all the time. He says, "Well, that gator right there is small compared to the one I jumped on a couple of weeks ago." I said, "Well, what happened?" He goes, "You can make some money off a gator hide." So I really just wanted one to cook. So I saw him crossing the road. And I pulled the truck over and I ran and jumped on him. Now, this guy soaking wet couldn't have been 120 pounds. He's an amazing man and he's brave, but have mercy. What was he thinking? The gator just kept walking. He didn't do anything to the gator. It's like jumping on a dinosaur, right? We're going to take the T-Rex down, so the gator doesn't even know he's there. At some point, he gets annoyed, and he does the roll with him. And he rolled him for like 100 yards on the asphalt, stripped the clothes clean off of it. So people were coming by. And at this point, he's too afraid to let go because he thinks he's going to get eaten if he does, because he's too weak to get away from it. People came by and had to rescue him because there's this naked man being dragged by an alligator into the marsh, and they were afraid he was going to drown if he didn't let go. So a whole bunch of people had to go and save him because he was too chicken to let go because he thought the gator would turn around and eat him. And that's a real story.
That's a move, right? I mean, you're kind of committed when you jump on the gator.
It's the gator or you? Which one?
You're committing. You're forcing the issue a little bit.
Yeah,
I feel like that could be an event at the Gopher Hill Festival, actually.
Well, my uncle was a wildlife refuge officer, and he would bring them home every week in the back of his truck, big ones, and he would have to relocate them,
Oh,
so we got to see them up close. We raised a few, but you have to turn them loose after they get so big because they'll just eat you.
Okay, let me continue on my file here. Do you drive those cool boats that have the fans in the back?
No, that's Florida.
Oh, okay, dang it.
Yeah.
Crawdads. You eat crawdads?
No, that's Louisiana and Florida. We have a few, but there's not too huge.
You eat okra?
Oh, man. Listen, okra is the only thing that when you boil it, eat it. It goes through you so fast you can't remember what happened. It confuses you. It's just the slimiest stuff you've ever seen.
It's gross. It's gross.
Pretty nasty. Fried okra is okay.
You know what's even worse than okra is grits.
I like grits.
No, listen.
I do like grits.
What y'all have is grits
out here,
not grits. Your grits out here is not made from that white Silver Queen corn. Back home, it's a sweet corn that's dried, and they grind it up. It's good.
I'm a fan. All
right. Well, I make fun of people when we go to places and they get shrimp and grits. Mm-hmm. But I'll have to check it out.
Man.
Pecan pie, pecan. You eat that?
Dude, I lived in a pecan orchard. We were farmers. Yeah, I could make it too.
Pecan pie?
Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
It pretty much takes a cast iron stomach to be able to digest it. But it's not good for you, but it is delicious.
Okay.
Well, most things that are delicious aren't good for you. I guess.
This one's really not good for you.
So, Mitch, tell us about your father. You hinted a little bit at his legacy of service and example to you, but talk to me about growing up and what lessons did he teach you?
One of the things I learned from him is that you always respect your wife. With Southerners, it's either funny or it's heavy hitting. We feel deeply and we love deeply. So a lot of things are fairly personal to us. But when he passed away in 2012, every single person had a comment to say at his funeral that was basically, we knew that man loved his wife. That's what he taught everyone, was that your spouse receives your highest honor and respect, and everyone should know that. And your children should learn from you how you treat your spouse. And my dad had this ability. I don't have it. I've always wanted to have the gift that he had and the gift that my grandfather had, where they could walk into a room and instantly connect with people. They could instantly set people at ease. You could walk up to that one person that's struggling and you want to say something and help them or do something, but you know you don't have anything in common with them. It'll come across as artificial or hurtful perhaps, or insensitive. They could walk up, put their arms around them and hug them and say something just fantastic in a sentence or two and change their entire lives. Next thing you know, they're at their homes. They're having dinner with them. They're helping them solve a problem. My father taught me that there's no such thing as you taking care of yourself. You take care of others, and that teaches you how to take care of yourself. All of your problems in life can be found when you serve other people. And he meant that with all of his heart. He says, Mitchell, he says, a lot of people judge other people. He goes, but you can't do that. He says, take, for example, the guy sitting in the back row at church. He says, that man is there because his life depends on it. His whole circumstances depend on him improving and changing, and he's doing the best he can. Everybody else, especially those sitting in the middle, he says they're comfortable where they are. They're not progressing. They're not growing. If anything, they're probably sliding back. He says, if y'all aren't careful, that guy in the back will be a bishop. He says, be very careful how you judge people. Don't do it. It offends God and it offends the spirit. He says, you'll make some lifelong friends if you love those people who are difficult to love and difficult to serve. And he spent his entire life proving that. We had hurricanes come through. We had natural disasters come through. It comes through regularly there. My dad was the first one to load up the convoy, and we'd help people in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, wherever. And he involved the young men, he involved the ward, he involved everybody. I grew up in a home of 5 boys, a mom and a dad, but honestly, if I had to say who my family was, it truly was my community. There was no boundary saying this is my family in my home. My family covered such a wide range that I felt comfortable enough that I could go to anyone's home that night and live there. And it was possible because of him and other people who made it that way in the community.
So as a kid growing up, and you think about that, the importance of your dad making sure that everyone knew of his love for your mom, what did that look like in the home?
Well, kids can be kind of mean. We like to tell the mom that, maybe she didn't do such a good job on dinner. We hate this after she's been working 2 jobs. Or maybe we don't want leftovers, when she's had a rough day or something like that. Kids can be kind of cruel and pointed in their expressions of dissatisfaction. Yeah. Pop had a good way of dropping the hammer on us and letting us know that in no uncertain terms that was unacceptable. And he wouldn't mind standing up for his wife and letting us know that respect is due to her no matter what. And that wouldn't be tolerated.
I'm hearing that. I need to work on that.
And when we hurt her, or when we were negligent in showing our affection, even, he was very quick to encourage us to do things. Go make it right. Go up there and give her a hug and tell her she looks nice today. Something like that.
Yeah.
Can you talk about mom? Tell us a little bit about your mom.
I can. Now, she's one of the strongest people I've known. She's one of the more generous people I've ever met. She joined the church as a young adult, but she grew up and basically orphaned. Her mom died of cancer, and her dad died when she was young. So she was raised in an orphanage, and off and on she'd be raised by her grandmother. And she had, I think there was 7 or 8 brothers and sisters. And so there were a great many people to really take care of. And so she really had to kind of take care of herself and her sisters. So she learned how to develop an inner strength and independence early on. She put herself through school and became a registered nurse, and then got a degree in X-ray and radiology, and ran the radiology department for our local county hospital. And she taught me the value of education, of hard work, that you can do it no matter what odds are against you. But she was tender. She was kind. She wasn't hard. People, when they go through things like that, makes them hard. She wasn't like that at all. But the most surprising thing about her was that even though she was very busy and had all these kids, when people were having a hard time in their own homes, she could make the best bread, this sourdough bread, and she would always drop it off and deliver it. But her surprising thing was that she was creative. She was an artist, and she did a lot of cross stitch and a lot of painting. And because of her, I went and got my degree in art.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it has brought me a lot of comfort over the years, and it taught me how to look at the world differently. She taught me that.
How does she find the gospel of Jesus Christ? I mean, you talked a little bit about young adult. How did that happen?
The missionaries knocked on her door and said, we're supporting the local single adults ward here at college here at the University of South Carolina, and there's a dance coming up. We want you to come. And I think she'd only been twice by the time she had met my dad at one of the dances. And he helped her learn more about it. And she liked the feeling that the gospel had. It rang true to her. Having lost her family, she liked the principles of families are forever. Now, you hear of people who hear of truths and it rings with them, and they believe them because it's convenient. Does that make sense? They haven't really made an investment yet, but that's a convenient truth. I'd like that in my life. That wasn't her. She had this ability to recognize what was true immediately, and she didn't believe it because it was convenient. In fact, joining the church cost her family. When she joined the church, because they're all Baptist, they basically X'd her for quite some time. She was cut off from a great many things, and it was harder for her because she really didn't need to lose anything else. But it was the truth that she saw it, or family. And how do you ask somebody to walk away from their family when they're going through it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But she did. She felt the call of that, and she wanted her own family to have the truth in the home. So she made that tough choice.
She's still with us?
She is. She finished fighting her battle with cancer last month. Last year during the pandemic, she found out she had breast cancer, and they caught it at, I think, stage 3 or something. And she went through quite a difficult time, but she's managed to pull through, and she's doing okay.
And where's mom at now?
Right now, she is in a place called Rincon, Georgia.
Rincon, Georgia. Okay.
Yep, just outside Savannah, about 20 minutes.
Okay.
Yep.
So Mitch, as you live your life, how do you honor your parents today? Still a commandment, still on the books, right?
Yeah, it's still on the books. If you don't honor your mother and your father, your days won't be long on the earth. And with my stupidity, I need all the help I can get. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So how do you honor them?
I try and be a good father like my dad was. I try and teach my son, that he needs to honor and respect his mother. And I think I've done a good job with that, because, it's a hard thing. Sometimes kids, especially when you have just two parents and it's just you feel like you've got two parents that are going to suffocate you. Sometimes you have to butt heads with one of them. And that was Brooke. Brooke was the more practical individual. I was the more of the peacemaker, trying to teach people to be flexible, not to dig in, but to yield on occasion and not choose this hill to die on. But what I did teach was him to respect her and honor her and love her and appreciate her for who she is, because I felt that if I didn't do that, I would have failed my father. Because the thing that he taught me is, I remember the last words he told me was, you have to do better than I did. That's the whole point. If the next generation can't do better than the previous, what have we succeeded in doing? And he says, take what I've learned and given you, and you improve on that. And then you have your child do the same. And I've tried to teach my son the value of serving others, especially when you get nothing in return. Because from the outside, it sure seems like you're spending all this time and the best that you have on those who, quote unquote, as the world would say it, matter least. That you have your priorities backwards. But the truth is, no effort is wasted. The Lord will bless you with the solutions to your own challenges in your home when you serve other people. And I honor my mother by bringing creative activities and talents to the home, by trying to continue to serve others as she's done, but to raise my kids and those within my influence to understand and acknowledge truth and stand up and implement it in their lives, no matter what the cost is. Sometimes you have to make hard decisions.
And I love that when you talk about your mom and her ability to recognize truth and not only recognize truth, but then take action on the truth, even if the circumstances are going to be uncomfortable, right?
Yep.
For you, Mitch, I'm curious, you're watching your dad. It sounds like you've got a lot of relatives that were serving in the church and that were very actively involved. And you've obviously got your mom who's who's an example of faith. What does your faith journey look like? When does the faith that you see mom and dad practicing become your faith?
Well, it happened when I was on a mission, when I found out what my faith was made out of. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis after I was married. I was a year and a half into it. I was 25. But while I was on my mission, I actually had some health issues then that we didn't know what was. And I knew that I needed to serve a mission. There comes a point where you see what your parents do. You recognize the value in it, the feeling that it gives you, and the peace that it brings to your home. You recognize the good things that contribute to it, but you also recognize the cost of it. Nothing's free. If you want a blessing, you have to pay for it. And then that's usually through work. You don't earn anything. The Lord gives it to you, but he does require you to do certain things to qualify for those things. They showed me that to have harmony in the home, to have that sanctuary in the home, that it required work. And that I knew that I wasn't educated enough. One of the hardest things in the world is when your father sits you down and says, this is the man you need to be. But you are not that man today. You don't have much time. One day you're going to be a husband and a father, and you need to stand in that place and be their pillar of strength. He says, you are not that yet. And for him to point out what I needed to do to serve a mission, I needed to be proficient in a career so that my family doesn't have to worry, and learn how to treat women. He did his best to teach me that, but he showed me what I needed to do. And for my faith to develop, I had to accept that and go out on my own, starting with a mission and also a college, to be able to see what am I made of. Until you're tried and tested, you don't know. I believed everything that they said. I've had my witness. It was never a doubt whether the church was true, whether the principles that we live by in our lives would bring us goodness and health. But, I went on my mission 3 times to try and satisfy the requirement of the 2-year term. I was sent home for surgery twice. And it was an exceptionally painful and difficult journey for me. But my family needed the blessings. And I needed the blessings. I needed to learn that I could depend on God and trust him. And that was the proving ground. There was so much that was personal and private in it. But that's what turned me into who I was choosing to obey and choosing to do the right thing, even when it would have been easier to just step back and take a breather. I felt wholeheartedly that the rest of my life would depend on some of the choices I made between 17 and 25. And sure enough, there's one thing right after the next. And had I taken it easy, I would have been one of those guys that says, well, it's okay. We'll let this one go. We'll worry about the next one. And, that's not how you grow. That's not how you become who you need to be. And for me, I just knew God loved me. I knew he was real. I knew that he demanded much from me because of what he had given me as a young man and what he had taught me.
Man, thank you for sharing that. I'm curious because I love that idea of recognizing one that God loves you and that, there's blessings in your life, but then to go out on your own, right. And make that decision to serve a mission. And then you had to come back twice for surgeries. Gosh,
and it's Spain.
And it's Spain.
Yes.
Right?
Could you imagine me trying to speak Spanish?
Man, that'd be a beautiful accent, Mitch. The old Southern Spanish.
Oh boy, you don't want to hear that. I was in the MTC and we were doing the vocabulary drills on the board, and they said, Elder Lowther, we're going to get you to say this next one for us. You could hear a pin drop. 14 other brothers and sisters were just waiting for me to say it. And I'm like, gosh, this is like high school all over again. This is going to be a catastrophe. And I'm supposed to say, we can sing, we can dance. And you want me to give you the approximate version of what that was?
Yeah.
Nos, Atros, Podemos, Cantaminos, and Balamos. Let me tell you what they said. He looked at me and he says, I have met my match. You are welcome to sit back and just learn how to write and read for the duration of the class.
Nosotros. I love it.
He thought I was joking. I said, man, I gave it my best effort,
Bailamos.
Bailing. So what we bailing on, we bailing. That's what we're doing. As a collective unit, we're just going to skip out.
Oh, man. Well, I think Spain, probably at the time you served, Spain was the most difficult mission in the world.
It was. And as a matter of fact, when I was
probably
going
still is.
It probably is. When I went into the MTC a day before, Elder Packer's son, Spencer, married my cousin from Ridgeland, of all places. And he calls up and says, Dad wants to talk with you before you go in the MTC. And I'm like, Dad, who? So he calls me into the church office building, and Elder Packer gives me a little primer on Spain. And he says, I opened that mission. He told me all about it. He says, it's going to be a hard one. I said, dude, I'm from a farm.
Hold on. Back up.
Yeah.
You are in the church office building meeting with Elder Packer
from
the Quorum of the 12 Apostles?
Yeah, 1994.
Wow.
January 1994.
Going into your mission, let me tell you about Spain.
Let me tell you about Spain and what it's going to be like. I'm like, well, I'm not getting the warm and fuzzies at this point if an apostle has to pull me aside and give me a pep talk. I thought for sure he's going to say, first, you need to learn English. When you finish that, we'll teach you Spanish. But no. He sat me down and he talked to me about the goodness of the people and how he loved the area. He says, but the work is hard, and it's because of the traditions and religions of their forefathers. We read about that in the Book of Mormon. And he was right. The people are good. They're good people. But to leave the family tradition and the family religion and join the church would be what my mother had to do. She had to leave her family. He says, you're going to have difficulty. You're going to have trouble, but don't lose your faith. Don't lose your hope. Just do the best you can. And he had plenty of good words of encouragement. But when he opened the door, there was Elder Maxwell and Elder Oak standing there. And they says, he going to Spain? I said, yes, sir. I could almost read their minds. They're like, good luck. But no, they were very positive and they were hopeful. And they had some good words to say too and sent me. But it was a really beautiful experience going to Spain, because it teaches you to understand and love people from a different perspective and a different worldview. There's nothing wrong with those people. There's nothing wrong with what they believe, because they're living a beautiful life, but it's not what we believe. And so you have to be careful how you share your truth so that you don't injure people.
Yeah. You mentioned, Mitch, that you recognize that sacrifices have to be made for faith.
Yeah.
I'm curious, that experience, that 2 years, and you said you'd come back from Spain 2 different times. Is that right?
Yep.
2 different times. And
last time they sent me to Texas,
Okay. Yeah.
Texas, because they'd like to keep you close by in case there's
an
issue.
Sure. Yeah. So you come back twice, you keep going back out. What did that teach you? What are you learning in that?
Well, here's the funny thing about it. At some point you get past what we call blind obedience, where this is what's expected of me. I'm going to do that because, number one, I don't want to look bad. I don't want my family to look bad. I don't want to disappoint people, and I don't want to be disobedient. There's this expected version of you're supposed to live up to.
Sure.
But at some point you say,
but faith isn't in that.
The faith isn't in there. That's just concern and stupidity. What faith is in is, where does God need me? Why does he need me? And why do I need that? What is it going to do for me? How is that going to help me be a better person for other people and for myself? And it's not selfish to sit back and weigh things, because if you don't question things with a proper mind and a proper spirit, you can't gain a testimony of it. And God, when you get down on your knees and say, okay, look, this hurts. Every nerve in my body is in pain. It hurts to do anything, and yet I feel I need to go back out. And you get on your knees and you fast and you pray, and you have to come to terms with the fact that you're going back out on a mission, even though you know full well that you probably could use a break. Where is the sense in that? Where is the joy of service in that? No, what you're learning is you're learning to pray, you're learning to listen, and you're learning to follow. It doesn't matter what the experience is. If that's all you got out of it, that was enough. And I learned with an absolute surety how to pray and get answers, how to know that when I get up, I don't have to question what it is that I found out. And you learn that by going through these familiar exercises where, you know what, there's a lot on the line. There's a lot required of me. There's a lot required of other people. I wasn't the only one that was being put on when I had to go back out on a mission. It was a family affair. My family had to do without while I was out. So you had to get that right. How many times in our lives have we wanted to get down and not get up until we had an answer? And then we needed to have the confidence to go forward and never have to look back and question that foundational answer that we received. That's what I learned from that experience.
Because with that comes the trust, right? When you have
trust.
that answer and you know it's the answer from God,
That's
you
it.
can trust that it's going to work out.
You know, you ask me,
Go forward
what
in
am I
confidence,
doing?
right?
What am I doing to honor my father? You know, 3 people in life have taught me great things. My father taught me to trust God. He said, son, now's the time to learn to trust God. The sooner you figure that out, the happier you'll be. My grandpa taught me, he says, if you always do what you've always done, you'll never be able to get anything different. He says, God has so much in store for you. Trust him when he demands hard things. And I'm one of these people that because of the things that I've been through, I'm no different than anybody else. I'm just me. But God has demanded some difficult things from me from time to time, and I've learned to trust him. But at some point, and y'all know how it is when you put your hands on someone's head and give them a blessing, sometimes you have to say things that do you trust God or not? Well, you know what you do. You follow through on the inspiration that you're given. One time my wife recently saw me come in the house and I was upset because I had received some inspiration that I needed to follow and I couldn't quite figure out how to do that. And because I felt that perhaps too much was being asked to go in a direction. You know, you have to look for balance and make sure that that's there. And she looked at me and she gave me the harshest reprimand I've ever had in years. But she did it in a kind and loving way. She says, don't you ever doubt again. I don't know what you were told, but don't you ever question what you were told. You do it, or I'll never forgive you. And that's, let me tell you, when she said it the way she did, I just put my arms around her because it was an additional confirmation from a loving source how to get those answers, how to support them, because sometimes the answer comes and it's not what you want. I mean, it's really, really not what you want. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it's the answer you know that's real, and you just need one more person to kind of nudge you down that road that you can't quite make that first step on. And those 3 people, my dad, my grandpa, and Brooke, have always been there for me to do that. And now that 2 of them aren't here, I have to make sure my feet are walking forward, and maybe I'll be that person for somebody else. I don't know.
Oh man.
So Mitch, you're going to be in people's ears, and I just want to go and kind of highlight something that your dad said, that conversation. You're not the man you need to be.
Yep.
There are moments when all 3 of us probably feel like we're not the man that we need to be, and there may be some people experiencing, as they're listening to us right now, they're feeling like they're not the people that they need to be. What would you say to that? What would you say to that person feeling that way right now?
It was hard for me because, you know, correction stings. We're human. We have our pride. We have our ego. We like to convince ourselves we're doing the best we can with what we've got. But the truth is, all of us have fear. Fear is what keeps us from progressing. Fear of failure, fear of looking stupid, fear of succeeding and it not turning out the way you think it's supposed to be. We're afraid of the amount of work that something's going to be. We don't want to have to suffer. We don't want to have to work. But when I had to face that correction and hear that, the way I was able to change was he loved me. and he took away the fear. Love takes away fear. It always does. That's how you reach people. That was the secret to his ability to go and help others and reach out to them. I knew that man loved me. And I knew that he was not trying to offend me or to degrade me in any way, shape, or form, but to say, you know what, son, that place is where you should be standing. You do everything you can to measure up so that you can stand there and be worthy to do it, because people will depend on you. And that has guided me my whole life. And that I'm afraid, my fear, you talk about, what are you afraid of? My fear is that I might let myself down. I'm only human. I want to measure up, especially when it matters most. And so for those people who are trying to stand where they should be, but they're not, brush your shoes off, brush your knees off, get up, get to work. You can waste all the time in the world, but you're not guaranteed tomorrow. We are the hands and feet that minister mercy on behalf of God to his children. And if we're not worthy and we're not qualified to do that job, it will be given to somebody else. And that sting is truly brutal. If I wasn't qualified for Brooke when I met her to be her husband, that job would have been given to somebody else. I would have missed out on blessings. That's the way life is. There's an opportunity and there's a lifetime to it. Best thing that we can do is look for the love that our Heavenly Father has for us. Look for the love in your family that's around you cheering for you. Brush your shoes off of your knees, get the dust off of you, and stand up and just move forward one step at a time until you get where you need to be.
I love that idea of lifespan of an opportunity, right? We hear opportunity of a lifetime, but there's that lifetime of an opportunity. There's a window of time for you to step up and to be that person. Mitch, before you came on, I was sharing with Tyler that your wife is involved in a Mike Freeman hinge moment, right? I knew Brooke. I was hanging out with Brooke. I was a closet Book of Mormon reader. No one knew what was moving inside me, right? And I was trying to keep it. I was trying to push that beach ball down. Kept popping up. I was trying to push it down. Well, one day I can point to the spot on the carpet I was standing when your wife asked me if I wanted to go to church. And I said no. And I was rebuked, not by her. I was rebuked by the Holy Ghost. And I was a stranger to the Holy Ghost at that time, right? So that hinge moment changed me. Mm-hmm. I knew that I had answered incorrectly, and I knew that there was something there, and I needed to make some changes. And I will forever be grateful to Brooke for that moment.
Thanks.
Thinking about hinge moments, is there something that stands out as you look at your life, a moment, a conversation, an interaction where everything changed?
Yeah. This is going to sound funny and roundabout, but it was very real for me. Growing up in a small town, you can see where you get used to the day-to-day life. This is my comfort zone. Apart from going out and doing a mission and coming back and using that beautiful experience to bless the people around me, this is where I'm staying. This is my culture. This is where I'm friendly. This is where I'm geared. But hinge moment for me was when I got a job working for General Electric. I was at this place and I had a great job. I was an IBM engineer. I was an HP engineer. I had worked for Toshiba as an engineer. I had all these certifications. I was up there and I was enjoying my career. I had worked really hard to educate myself and to be able to provide for my family. And the Lord had done a great job of putting me in great companies, but where I was, the workplace had become toxic. And, it's funny when you read the Book of Mormon, you hear about Lehi, the Lord gives him the prompting to take his family and leave, to flee. And he didn't ask him to leave tomorrow. The next day, he said, get out of there. The feeling was very strong that we had to do this. And I talked to Brooke about it that night. She says, no, you're right. You need to apply for a job elsewhere. Long story short, we did apply for a job elsewhere. We even went to the temple and thought this thing through, and the direction was clear. So I left that job, and a few days before relocating to take this job, the impression came, do not relocate, do not take that job. And I think we both know that revelation and inspiration that comes from heaven is generally consistent. It pushes you down a road that you can, if you're in tune, you can generally plot that course and understand where it's taking you. Here was a direct contradiction. I had just severed my income. I had just severed my benefits. I had a home that we owned for just over a year, and now I didn't have a job. And what am I supposed to do? Not only that, I had just finished a course of chemo with MS. I was struggling, to say the least, but I had managed to get myself into a position where I could continue to work. When you talk about tiny hinge moments, I'm going to tell you how service was that hinge moment for me. And this is where I will forever be grateful to my father for teaching me to be, or at least try to be, a decent human being. The bishop came up to me at church and says, "I hear you don't have a job. That means you got time on your hands." Listen, nothing against bishops, and this guy was a great guy. He just didn't have a way with people. It just, bless his heart. He's doing the best he can
He's with what he's got.
him.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
holy cow, dude, we
But he
need to
didn't have
send
a
you to
lot
like
on his plate.
working with people course. Holy moly. He definitely hadn't been reading the 7 Habits. But we were sitting here and he says, we're going to send you to scout camp for a week since you have nothing better to do. The rest of us have jobs and we can't take time off because we're going to take it off for vacation at the end of the year. I'm like, I don't know whether to say yes or just be offended and say no. He says, "Oh, yes is the correct answer. We're going to send you with Jim." Jim is a gentleman, by the way, who managed to fall off of a forklift and have a pallet land on him, and it broke 7 vertebrae in his back.
Oh, wow.
So he's been out of back surgery 3 weeks.
Oh,
so it's a guy with MS and a guy with a back surgery going to take 15 kids that's never stayed away from home to Boy Scout camp in Asheville, North Carolina, in the woods. I'm like, yeah, what can go wrong with this? This is going to be a John Candy Great Outdoors experience. So we go. I'm like, sure. Now, I had already interviewed with General Electric over the phone. I applied for a job in Atlanta, which is not 2 hours away from where I was living. And I was thinking, okay, keep me close to home. It could be near family. This is great, right? Well, they said stay close to the phone because we're returning the call so you can do the last interview with HR. Head of HR will call you. Now, this is General Electric up in Pittsfield, Mass. I mean, this is the headquarters. GE had, I think, 32 businesses at that point, and this was it. And I got a hold of them. I said, "Look, I got to go scout camp. They need me there. These boys can't go. If they don't have that chaperone, the whole trip's a wash." I said, "You stay near the phone." Well, what do you think I did? I needed a job. I needed to support my family. But the church really needed that service. It sounds kind of silly, but you had to be there. So I called the bishop, said, "I'll go." And so I went. We were there 3 days. And while we were there, the boys were terrified. We told them, we said, "Look, these people, this is the South. The military basically runs the scouting camps." I said, "You have to be obedient. When they say go to bed, go to bed. Don't sit up and talk and chatter all night. So if we hear you talking, we're going to throw a rock. If the first rock, you don't stop, we'll throw a second. If we throw 3 rocks, we're coming over there. Somebody's going home." "Yes, sir, Mr. Lowther. We understand." So Jim, who can't move and is laid out on an army cot, he says, "Did you call your wife today? Have you heard from your job interview?" I said, "I haven't heard anything yet. It's Wednesday." He goes, "Well, maybe you'll hear by Friday." And we could hear him chatting over there and screaming. So he grabs a big rock and sends it. I mean, it sounded like buckshot being fired out of a double barrel shotgun. It hit the side of that Adirondack, and we heard blood curdling screams that just, oh my gosh. I'm like, I think you might have hit one, Jim. He said, "No, man." He said, "I got this. You watch this." And he grabbed another rock and hit it again. And they started screaming even worse. And I saw one kid take off through the woods. I said, "We better go over there and check that out." He says, "That's all on you." He says, "I can't move." So, I come out of my little thing. I'm scaling this mountain slope and I get up into their little 3-walled cabin. I said, "Boys, what's going on?" And they were all huddled up. holding on to each other like they had just survived the Great Rapids. And they were sitting on top of a picnic table that was in the middle, and they were crying like they had just escaped a mass murder. I said, boys, what's going on? Well, this bug fell down on this one guy, and then all of a sudden, these rocks started hitting the walls, and the bugs kept coming down on all of us, and they were all crying for their moms. The guy who ran off was too scared to go to the bathroom, and he couldn't hold it anymore, so he made it to the latrine only to have a big giant black snake drop down on him while he's in the middle of doing his thing. So we had, by the time that hour was over, we had 15 kids who swore they would never, ever go out on another trip again. And I said, look, there's this thing called a bug bomb. I said, if y'all will go to sleep, I will go to Walmart and get a whole case of them, and we'll set it off in your place. He says, all right. So I did my part, helped them stay at camp, got them into their classes, and they terrorized everybody. But Thursday morning, I got a call at the main place there. And they said, Mitch, our phone won't let you call out. But somebody named Jerry from General Electric in Massachusetts just tried to call you. And he said, for you to call this number back as soon as you can. And I said, well, what do I do? They said, well, about 20 miles out, there's a gas station off the mountain. You can call from there. So I had to get this guy who can't move, who's probably on heavy painkillers, to drive me to the truck stop. And while I'm having my second interview with the head of HR for GE Corporate, there's 18-wheelers blowing their horns, and I'm on a payphone outside a gas station restroom with a couple fighting in the back. This guy finally just crashes the interview after about a minute. He says, this is the funniest thing I have ever heard in my life. He goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm calling you from this place, and yada, yada, yada. And he goes, you went to scout camp. I said, yeah, that I believe in that. He says, interview's over. He said, the interview's over. We don't need to go any further. He says, we'll get the job offer to you in a few minutes. And he picked up the phone. And when I got the job offer, the offer was actually for a higher level corporate offer up in Massachusetts. It wasn't for Atlanta. And they were looking for someone that was a career person to manage all of their data centers worldwide. And they found out that when I chose to go to scout camp, because they needed a chaperone over sticking around for that, he said, that was when you got the job. That was a tiny hinge moment where you felt in your heart what you should do, but your obligations and logic were telling you something different. And that has stuck with me my whole life. It has stuck with Brooke. We were talking about this earlier today. She says, that's who you are, is don't do what appears to be right, do what you feel is right. And that little thing has always stuck with me, and it stuck with her.
That's powerful. I love that. Can I ask, and you can tell me to zip it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What has MS taught you?
Patience with yourself. Life, it doesn't matter if it's MS or what, life's going to throw you some unexpected curveballs, and you're going to feel that challenge, and it's going to hurt. You're going to be disappointed. But the biggest disappointment is when you get impatient with yourself and you don't trust God. MS has taught me that if I trust God, I have patience. If I trust God, that there's a plan for me still, that he loves me, that he will make things work out. And you have to learn to be kind, not only to others, but to yourself as well. People think that bad things happen to them all the time because they did something wrong. No, life's just not fair. But God makes it fair through the mercy of other people. And he uses us to teach us and train us.
Mitch, what gives you hope these days?
The tender mercies that you see. There's a lot going on in the world, a lot of people going through some bad things. A lot of people dealing with situations and challenges that they really don't need to have on their shoulders. Some of it's of their own making, a lot of it's not. The little tender mercies that I see give me a different perspective. It lets you, for example, when you feel that feeling that you should do this and you're like, no, there's no way, but you know you need to do it. And that day you made a difference in somebody's life, or they do that and they made a difference in your life. These things give me hope because it reminds me God's still there. He hasn't quit striving to work with men. He hasn't quit trying to help us. The tender mercies that you see educate you and enrich your life.
We talked about your parents. We talked about Brooke. Is there anybody else that at this stage in your life and looking back that you would like to honor?
Well, Brent Pactall is a little hero of mine. Little just because he's short, but we tease him a lot for having this big truck and being so short. Brooke asked him if he wanted a little step ladder with a rope on it that we could get him for Christmas, and he didn't like that very much. But Brent shared with me a story before he lost Kathy, and it's funny because I'm on the outside. He considers us family, but because I'm on the outside, I can see his journey. I could see where things were going to go for him. Although he was in the hot pot, he didn't know it. He shared with me a scripture that I consider scripture, but it's not. It's really just a quote. It says, I can do hard things because I know God loves me. Brent is the living example of that. When I think my dad is gone, my grandfather's gone, Rod is gone, all the men that I would have turned to for counsel, for advice, they're gone. Brent's not. And Brent is the living example of how do I face this? How do I do this? How do I serve other people? Oh, this person needs this. Let's just get in a truck and we're going to go right now and do it. Doesn't matter if it's convenient or not. This needs to be done. Brent showed me with the loss of his wife, with going through prostate cancer treatments and being remarried, that God will demand hard things of those that he loves. He will demand things that are almost cruel. But if you're willing to change, if you're willing to walk forward and trust him, the blessings will come. And it's all about that phrase I told you earlier. You're not that man right now. How do you become that man? That's how you do it. You be willing to follow the path that's laid before you with dignity, with faith, and God will make an amazing person out of you and of other people. It makes your life richer.
I love that. God will demand hard things of those he loves, man. That's a powerful thought. I gotta ask a question, Mitch. So the theme of the show, The Richest Men in Town, is about living a rich life. And Mike has, he mentioned earlier, that kind of the people that we have on this show roll out of bed living that life. I'm curious if you can describe for us a moment in time in your life where you've felt rich and blessed. And I'm going to take one away from you. It cannot be the Gopher Hill Festival. All right.
Listen, dude, before I answer that, we have to go back to the Gopher Hill Festival, because this one you're not going to believe. Okay, you ready? Okay, so
I already barely believe what's going on here.
As opposed to all of the ones that you can believe.
No, listen, this is totally true. You get ready for this because you're not going to believe it. Okay, I was part of that karate studio that started all that got that going. My two instructors were a married couple. Guess who their karate instructors were? One of them was Chuck Norris. So every few years, we would go up to Norfolk, Virginia, to his home studio and participate in the black belt testing. And that was awesome.
What?
Absolutely awesome. Yeah.
Hold on. You met Chuck Norris?
Absolutely, dude. I have met the legend. He has shown me the kicks. He's shown me the punches. I know his style. I trained in his style for 12 years, man.
No.
What? Yes, sir.
My mind is officially blown.
Hold on, Mitch.
He's not as tall.
Are you a black belt?
No, before I got my black belt, I had to stop because I'd had a knee injury. And then by the time that had healed, I had to go on my mission. So I just kind of scaled back. I couldn't have made it through the test because the ultimate exam is they work you for 10 hours, right? You go through all this to prove you know everything. But the real test is this. They put you on one of those Sugar Ray Leonard 200-pound bags that's hanging by a chain and a swivel pin. The bag has to come down or you have to pass out. whichever comes first. The whole point is, if your life's in danger, you're protecting somebody else. Are you a quitter? Are you able to get the work done? And you can't be a quitter, and you have to get the work done. I was able to take the bag down only because the swivel pin broke. I used to be a little bit of a stallion back in the old days. I've lost that attribute. I'm more of a hey Kool-Aid guy right now, but we're working on it. But no, I saw some amazing people do some amazing things. When you look at the Karate Kid and you look at Daniel's fight, I know most of those people around the ring. It's all part of a small, tight-knit community, from the judge, the ref, that some of the spectators and all that.
I'm officially
so that's Ridgeland for you, okay,
man.
But
all right, so now I ask like you to describe a moment when you felt rich. For me it'd be like Chuck Norris's studio, but you know
I'm telling you, it's pretty sweet. I've had a banana from the health bar right there in Chuck Norris's studio while I watched a guy put his hand through 10 boards and 10 bricks. It was awesome.
Unreal.
But no, I feel rich in my life because of the family I grew up in. They showed me what it meant to be rich in experience, because everyone's around you going through things, and you learn from that. You learn how to help, but you also learn how to not have that in your own life, or how to deal with it if it comes. I'm rich because I gained all the work experience and skill sets from all these people who would let me work with them. And they taught me their trade. That was part of how our family worked, you know. And you had 3 or 4 jobs doing different things throughout the week. You just became a capable person. And I'm rich because my family taught me that more was expected of me than what I expected from myself. You have faith, you have religion, you have an obligation. Get busy with it. And you know, I can't tell you how blessed I feel to have had these people in my life to set me up for the rest of my life that way. I'm not saying I'm all that. I'm not saying I've got my act together. I'm not. We all have challenges. We all have weaknesses. But the education I got before I even left home was immeasurable.
Well, and I appreciate you sharing that, because I think, you know, I love this, you know, the description of your family and the experiences you've had with them and the lessons that they taught. But I think that you continue to come back to that point that there's difficult things that are going to come. Mm-hmm. Right. And there's beauty in that. And there's lessons to be learned. And, you know, you talked about going on a mission and coming back a couple times, and the question was posed, well, how did you grow your faith? Well, it's those difficult things.
It is. You know, the thing about a difficulty in life is not what it just makes you. The most beautiful thing in life are the relationships that we forge with other people.
Yeah.
You want to see something neat, sit back and say, you know, whose family had me over for dinner? What did they trust me with? What story, what inside secret, what burden, what weakness, or what strength did they share with me that made me rich? What did I share with them? You know, hard times draw people together. And being a part of someone else's life in a critical moment is an absolutely beautiful thing. It's beautiful to be trusted. It's beautiful to be strong enough to have others lean on you, because we're all weak. We're all in the same boat together. And if ever there was a need for love and mercy, it's now. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to be like my forefathers. You know, I've always wondered, will I ever measure up? We always wonder that to our ideal people that we have in our minds. Will I ever measure up like that? Probably not. But I'm going to give it my best dang effort. You know?
Yeah.
Well, just so you know, before you came on, I was talking about a moment, a Mitch memory when
that can't be good.
Nah, it was beautiful, man. It was beautiful. I just think of the car fire and ravaging our community, and that first Sunday when you have people that have nothing, they've lost everything, and they're in the pew and they're angry. Right, you could see the anger on their face,
and they feel it. You could,
and they're in their pajamas because they woke up at 5:30 in the morning and had to evacuate their home, and now their home is gone. And it was palpable, the tension, right? And the doubt, and where's God in this? And I will never forget that sacrament program, Mitch, and I will never forget the thoughts that you shared and the spirit that was there as you comforted us, right? So you can play it small and say that you don't have that gift that your father had. I've seen it, right? I'm going to call Bumpkus on that. I've seen it. And I've felt it, right? I felt it.
Thanks.
And I think that when you say that love takes away fear, that's what happened that day. That's what happened that day in my heart. That's what happened that day for a lot of us. And I think that's just you showing up, right? That's just you showing up and being authentic and stepping into that space. And a lot of trust was given to you in that moment, right? You could have said the wrong thing.
Absolutely.
You could have said some things that people would have never forgiven you for.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? The stage was set to do something amazing or to botch it. And you crushed it, man. It was powerful. So thank you for that. I'll always be grateful to you for that moment.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Well, I got to be honest with you. Like, I don't want this thing to come to a close by any stretch, Mitch. I'm going to call you tomorrow just to spend some more time with you.
Listen, Lowther's
absolute blast. Man.
Lowthers are best handled in small doses, man. It's like good medicine. You get too much.
Hey, I don't buy that for a second, man.
I just want to point out. You mentioned Lowthers and that name, right?
Yep.
You talk about the hard things you've been asked to do, Tyler. Mitch's son was called to Norway to serve a mission. Not the most Latter-day Saint missionary friendly environment.
Did you pull from that Packer speech?
Dude, I channeled everything I could. I even tried to imitate his voice. Didn't do too well. It sounded like an old grandma when I was done with it. But
I mean, I think that there's something up in heaven recorded that Lowthers can do hard things.
Oh, or it could have been said that we cause hard things for other people. You never want to be a stumbling block for somebody else, but I'm pretty sure I'm a four-sided stumbling block on occasion. For
I'll tell you what, Mitch, I love what you've taught tonight, and I mean honestly, I got notes coming out my ears right now. I love what you're talking about. You described some of those experiences that you felt rich in, but I can't let you off the hook. We end this show with the same question every time, and shoot, I got to hear your take on this, and some of it's probably going to be similar. But the show is really about we ask humble guys and humble ladies to come on this show and to share their life experiences with the world, and that's the reality of the podcast. It gets out to a little bit past Reading, and might even hit Ridgeland, up there. But what, Mitch, what does it mean to you to be considered the richest man in town?
Well, I've had a good bit to think about it, and I keep coming back to one answer, and it's the more people you know and love, the richer you are. It's not about us just being together as birds of a feather. That you accomplish nothing. That if you got people who agree with you and want to do the same things as you might have a good time. Life might be smooth sailing, but you know what? What have you done? What have you accomplished? How have you moved forward? We need people from all walks of life in our lives. We need to be able to make connections with people and not be afraid to love those who are difficult to love, those who are overlooked, those who are not in our circle. Because if we're not doing that, we're judging others. We're being exclusive. We have a clique. I have another funny story to tell you about my ward back home. This is going to get me in trouble because they'll know who I'm talking about, but I'll just leave the names out. But my dad was in the state
protect the innocent.
For 9 years. Oh, there's nothing innocent about this. So I'm just you're not going to believe this one. This is almost as bad as Chuck Norris. But they're having a bishopric meeting and a high council meeting all at one time. Stake presidents, he's addressing his priesthood leaders in the ward. Stake president is an outstanding man, a man who passed last year. He's one of the best men I've ever known in my life. And for counselors, he had my father and another gentleman, all these men. Have you ever just seen people who were paired together as friends, and you knew that God was in control, that he was running the show? That's the kind of caliber of men these people were. Stake president had a wonderful woman as a wife, a wonderful companion, and they had 7 kids. But what most people don't realize about the South is that it's a rich mix of different peoples, not just Southerners. We have the military, there's lots of military units down there. And this is part of what I'm talking about when you question here. The stake president made a comment, and one of the bishops, who was the head of one of the military wards, took offense. We don't know why, but he did. He was an irritating man. Loved him, but he was an irritating man. He was not a people person. He made a comment about the stake president's wife and insulted her. Next thing you know, stake president's climbing across the high council table trying to choke him. And my dad's pulling back on one foot. He's saying, "Don't do it, Pete. Don't do it. Once you get your hands on him, you might like it too much and we won't be able to pull you off," And so everybody's laughing. They calm down and they get on with the meeting. And my dad asked him a question. And this, as funny as it is, this actually happened. He says, "Pete, why do you keep a man like that serving as a bishop under you?" He says, "Well, Mitchell," he says, "we can do the things that we can do because we include people who aren't like us, who don't think like us, who don't work like us." He says, "We're rich because we include people who can get things done and are good at what they do." He says, "Can you manage a military ward?" He says, "I can." He says, "But that man's very good at it. People respect him and they honor him, and he can get the Lord's work done there." And he says, "And he's teaching me some things." And then he went and rattled off other leaders. He says, "If we stick with people that we always stick with, we'll never get anything done and we'll never grow." And I learned something that day. I was there. And my dad learned something that day, that to be rich, you have to bring in new people into your life, and you have to get out of your comfort zone and be a part of other people's lives, because together you can be something amazing. And you won't always agree. You might try and choke the life out of somebody over something, but hey, at least you'll have a good time doing it.
Well, you. I'm glad that you're in my life now, Mitch.
That's right, boy. Give me a call when we do this again.
Y'all put the dogs away.
Yeah, I don't want to get bit.
I'm expecting the theme song to Smokey and the Bandit to take us out.
Well, let me tell you, we are 93 episodes in, and that might be one of my favorite closing answers. I love that idea.
Yeah.
Right. Of bringing people in and Mitch, you know what this is about. This is about Tyler and Mike trying to be better. And I thank you for the way that you showed up and for the things that you taught us. And I think Socrates said that the unexamined life is not worth living. Right. And that's what this process is about. It's about lifting up the hood and examining why we do the things that we do. Who's left their fingerprints on our lives, right? Who's influenced us? Who do we honor today with everything that we do? And man, I can't imagine how proud your dad is.
No, thank you.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that you may not be there yet, but you are on your way, right, to becoming that man that you need to be.
Maybe one day, if I live long enough.
Well, and there's something about helping other people doing it, and you helped me tonight. And I cannot believe if our listeners knew what I did to you, right? We're talking pinch hit. We're talking, hey, Mitch, we got 93 episodes in. We got a streak. We cannot go down without a guest this week. We had some things happen outside of our control. Mitch Lowther, pinch hit.
Imagine how boring it would have been if I had time to plan it. You know what I mean? You probably wouldn't have heard the Chuck Norris story or the turtle racing or the grease pole that they have.
I gotta tell you, this is the 93 episodes in. This is the first time I almost shot water out of my nose.
Yeah, my favorite though is when Tyler's talking about his tortoise catching skills, and I'm like, I don't think you got to be.
Number 3 is rounding the corner. He's got 10 yards left.
Now,
doesn't look like he's going to make it.
If you got to catch a chicken, yeah, right. But tortoise, I think you got a lock on that, Tyler.
It's a whole new ball game, man. It's a whole new ball game.
I've heard of like, going and seeing the hot air balloons in New Mexico. That's on my mom's bucket list. So one of these days I'll be a good son and I'll take her. But man, I got to get me some. I want
to be at that Gopher Hill Festival.
You have never lived till you've raced a turtle and eaten some blueberry pie while you're doing it. And then
I think it's all bets are off.
Oh man, I'm so in on that thing.
I think it's all bets. I think you go and you got to eat and you can't say no.
No, you can't. You will offend so many people. They will carry you outside the county in a patrol car and drop you off, and they won't even give you a bottle of water. They say you just go on back to where you came from. We don't need your sort here. And then next week you can go to the Watermelon Festival in Beaufort, and after that you can go to the Catfish Festival, and after that it's the Peanut Festival.
It's a circuit.
It's a circuit. And if you miss one, you've missed out.
We need a Southern gentleman bucket list adventure.
I was just gonna say,
jumping on an alligator.
I see road trip with Mitch Lowther written all over it, man.
Dude.
Throw our Pepsi, throw our peanuts in our Dr. Pepper or whatever you do. I don't know.
If you look over here on the left, you'll notice this man sitting on a porch with a sawed-off shotgun. He's been dead for 3 years. They just keep him up there so that it makes the place look more friendly. It's just hilarious. You'd love it. But the South is a beautiful place.
Let's go. Harmony and all. Let's go.
Yep.
Thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it.
Mitch, it's been a blast, man. So good. Thanks for being here with us tonight.
Thank you.
Good idea, Ernie. A toast to my big brother George, the richest man in town.